Okay people, this is himself, and in this video I'm going to show you how to use what I call the mash technique to do some of King's multi-throws. And near the end I'm also going to show you what I think is the easiest way of doing the rolling death cradle. I'm going to admit that I'm not the greatest King player, but you don't need to be to do these throws, and I'm sure there's some new players out there who might be struggling to pull these off consistently, so this video is aimed to help those people. Now, the mash technique is where you hit all four face buttons 1, 2, 3, and 4 together simultaneously and repeatedly. On a stick, this might be easy using four fingers, but if you have some extra buttons, you can probably program one of those to do it for you. And if you're on a pad, then using four fingers can be tricky, so it's probably best to program a shoulder button to do it. Now, let's start off with the anchor hold, which is crouch dash 2 plus 3. The first extension to this is the STF, which is 1, 2, 3, 1 plus 2, and the easiest way of doing this is just doing the mash, but it's also the least damage. The next extension is the Scorpion Deathlock, which is 1 plus 2, 3, 1, 1 plus 3. Now the easiest way of doing this is doing 1 plus 2, then 3, holding it in, and then mashing the 1. So not too difficult. The third extension is the Indian lock, which is 1 plus 2, 1, 3, and then 1 plus 2 again. Now the way that I do this is kind of a loop. I do 1 plus 2, 1, 3, 1 plus 2, 1, 3, 1 plus 2. You get the idea. That throw then allows you to do the Mexican surfboard, but you can just mash that one out. Look at my command history, it works. And I'm not sure why it works, but my suspicion is that it's because there's only one extension after the Indian lock, so somehow the game gets fooled into thinking you're putting in the command that it's looking for. Now this particular branch does over 90 damage, that's over half the bar, and the surfboard has no break, so once the Indian lock goes in, there's no reason why you shouldn't get it. However, there are problems with this chain. Firstly, if the opponent breaks any of the first 3 extensions, then they'll deal 5 points of damage, and King also gets pushed away, unlike a normal break, so you lose some momentum. Also, people are so scared of the surfboard that as soon as you do the ankle hold, they're putting in the break for the Indian lock, so you can't get it in, and it's for that reason that I prefer to either do the Scorpion Deathlock, or even though the damage doesn't quite compare, or to avoid this chain altogether. Let's move on to the arm breaker, which is crouch dash 1 plus 2, sorry 1 plus 4, and if you do the mash straight afterwards you'll get the triple arm breaker, so it's the easiest one but it's also the least damage. Let's move on to the head jammer. The command for this is 1 plus 2, 4, 2 plus 4. The easiest way to do this is 1 plus 2, 4, hold it in and then hit 2. This can then be followed by the struggle combo. The command for this is 4, 3, 4, 1 plus 2, 3 plus 4, but you can just mash this one out, and I think it also guarantees an alley kick afterwards, so the damage to this is similar to the Dragon Sleeper. The good thing about this branch is that the struggle combo is unbreakable, and you actually have a good chance of getting the head jammer, because people are so scared of doing the death cradle, they're so scared of facing the death cradle that they're putting in the break for the chicken wing instead, which goes before it. So this is definitely a branch that you should consider. The third extension is the chicken wing. The command for this is 2, 1, 1 plus 2 plus 3, but the easiest way of doing this is hitting 2, holding it in, hitting 1, holding that in as well, and then hitting 3. Now the chicken wing has 2 follow-ups. If you do the mash, then you'll get the Dragon Sleeper no problem, and people will be wanting to avoid the rolling death cradle, so they'll be putting in the break for that instead. Now, rolling death cradle. The command for this is tricky, and rightly so. It does 70 damage on its own, so with the 2 throws before it, you're doing 110 damage, and in rage, it's even more. So this chain can easily turn around. I've seen numerous videos of people showing you how to enter the proper command. There's people using 2 hands on a stick, there's also people programming 3 or 4 shoulder buttons on a pad, but the way that I'm going to show you is the easiest of all, and it can be used on pad and stick. Earlier I said that the mash gets you the Dragon Sleeper, so you might think that the mash cannot be used for the RDC, but it can, and here's the secret. What you do is you enter 1 plus 3 first and then mash. This technique definitely works. The first time I did it, I thought it was a fluke, so I did it again and again, and each time I pulled it off with no problem. If you're on a pad, you can program one button for the 1+3 and another for the mash. And if you're on the stick, then you can use one hand for 1+3, hold it in, and then mash 2+4. The good thing about this method is that it can be difficult for your opponent to work out which one you're doing, whether it's the Dragon Sleeper or the RDC. And if your opponent's sitting right next to you, then they might look at your hands to figure it out. But both throws end with the mash, so they have to notice that you're doing the 1+3 first. And even then you can confuse the opponent, because you can use a dead button to fake the 1+3 and go for the sleeper instead. Of course, you can just put a blanket over your hands to hide everything, and your opponent then has to try and use sound to work things out, but the mash will sound the same, so you're still tricking them. One final note is that good players will break your throws, and whether it be the ankle hold or the arm breaker, and this is why you need to mix them up. And good players will also not risk stocking. They will just see which arm king is using and just put in the right break. However, there is one more tool that can help you, and that is that with the crouch dash throws, and that is the execution drop, where you do up +1+2 straight out of crouch dash. And I saw Lil Margin do this. Lil Margin is a great player, and I think you should definitely check out his channel. I'll put a link to it in the description. With the execution drop, because the break is 1+2, it means that you've got an extra mix up. It doesn't do much damage even with the alley kick afterwards, but it does give you a little extra something, and it's useful near the wall. There might also be a way of doing the rock bottom out of crouch dash as well, but I'm not sure exactly how to do it. If there is, then that's great, because the rock bottom is also a 1+2 break. Anyway people, that brings this video to a close. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, then give me a like and subscribe. I've got ideas for another King video in the future, so giving me a like and subscribe would definitely give me an incentive to do it. And I hope to see you guys in the future.